Report. I'm Keishla Smith. Thanks so much for joining us. Topping the news tonight, parliamentarians passed amendments to 3 bills today that would give the legal clearances for BTC buyer cable and wireless to function within the laws of the Bahamas. After voting on a bill to privatize BTC and amendments to Communications and Utilities Regulation and Authority Acts, a 4-day-long debate began on a resolution that would allow for the sale. But ahead of the Thursday vote on the resolution, there is a clear indication of how that vote is likely to go, since parliamentarians publicly stated their support or opposition for the bills in the House today. Our Clint Watson has details.
This week, Mr. Speaker, we will end the state monopoly on telecommunications and state ownership and dominance in telecommunications.
All government members of Parliament present Monday morning voted for the privatization of BTC, while all opposition members voted no. Noticeably absent from the government side, though, was Bamboo Town MP Brandel McCartney, who showed up immediately after and left about 5 minutes later. On the opposition side, V. Alpha Gray, Anthony Moss, and Fred Mitchell were also missing from the vote, but later showed up. Prime Minister Ingram, though, thought this was significant as he moved 2 resolutions to transfer the 51% shares and land from the government to Cable and Wireless.
All except 1 member of the Free National Movement was present and voted. Notwithstanding the boastful claim of the leader of the opposition, the number of his members who voted were 14, 3 shy of the number they elected to the House of Assembly. That speaks for itself.
These resolutions on the transfer of shares and land will be debated in Parliament this week. Prime Minister Ingram says the government has been seeking to find a partner for the past 14 years. The public bidding in 2003 and again in 2010 resulted in unacceptable offers. He says an intended engagement days before the last general election was called off. Now they have a suitable partner that's not only interested, but financially sound, cable and wireless. Mr. Ingram revealed that the previous PLP cabinet made a decision to sell 49% of the interest in BTC to Blue Water Ventures days before the 2007 general elections. The negotiation and decision to sell BTC was not disclosed by the PLP, but only revealed after the Ingram administration took office. The Prime Minister says the opposition appears to be confused on their stance on privatization.
Now, very few people say explicitly that they are against privatization. They now say that they are against the homes being sold, and they are against the transfer of majority ownership. Well, pick up a dictionary. To privatize is to move from state ownership to private ownership. To say that you are in favor of privatization, but at the same time that you must have majority ownership, does violence to the term privatization.
Speaking to BTC's profitability, the Prime Minister says they've been criticized for selling a profit-making corporation. But using statistics, he outlined how the company struggled during certain periods and in fact posted losses for several years. Following the restructure exercise in 1999, the company once again started returning profits. However, each year the profits declined.
But we're now taking it as far as we can go, and from this point on, the Bahamian public will have a depreciating asset in our hands. And that is something I will not do to the people of the Bahamas.
Now, debate is expected to wrap up here in the House of Assembly on Thursday, when a second vote will be taken, this time on the resolution to transfer the majority shares of BTC to Cable and Wireless, as well as the land from Treasury to Cable and Wireless. Clint Watson, ZNS News.
As you heard, 3 opposition members of Parliament were absent when the vote took place. The Member of Parliament for Michael, V. Alfred Gray, the MP for Fox Hill, Fred Mitchell, and MP for Exuma, Anthony Moss, were not in the chamber when the vote was taken. Neither was the Free National Movement's Brandel McCartney. Meantime, opposition leader, the Right Honourable Perry Christie, said he is concerned with the way the vote on the sale was undertaken.
It was a political event calculated to cause embarrassment, because we had 1 member on his way from Exuma, 1 member on the march with the people, and another member at that time in the Supreme Court.
Well, Member of Parliament for Fort Charlotte, Alfred Sayers, says months after the proposal was raised, he and the PLP still aren't convinced that BTC has to be sold. He says the so-called fire sale price of BTC of $210 million is far below value.
I cannot support this transaction because of the unreasonably low purchase price, the lack of transparency, the myriad conflicts of interests, and the anti-competitive and anti-Bahamian aspects of this transaction. Mr. Speaker, Article 52, subsection 1 of the Constitution imposes a duty on each member of Parliament to make laws not for the F&M, but for the peace, order, and good government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Well, protesters did not relent today in their opposition to the BTC sale. It was the third downtown protest against the sale to date. Waving Bahamian flags and carrying placards, the group was in a last-ditch effort to convince the government that the sale should not go ahead. Among the group, at least briefly today, was Bamboo Town MP Granville McCartney, who announced this morning that he'd resigned from the Free National Movement. Shanique Miller has feedback from those protesters and what McCartney is saying at this point.
Marching with steadfast determination to Parliament, dozens of protesters with placards reading any number of things from BTC for Bahamians to personal attacks levied at Prime Minister Ingram positioned themselves outside the House of Assembly, chanting catchy slogans which quickly became a chorus in the group. Cheers went up from this crowd when Bamboo Town MP Granville McCartney walked through. I asked him if his presence here in the march means he supports the protesters here and is against the sale of BTC.
No comment at this stage. No comment at this stage.
McCartney, with his brother Kurt closely behind, pushed his way through the crowd with every intention of making his way inside the House. But for the group, his being on Bay Street in their midst, instead of upstairs in Parliament where debate on the sale of BTC had begun, would further stir them.
It means that he's standing up for the Bahamian people. I'm very happy we need that vote. Well, I'm expecting a grandchild, so I'm looking out for my grandchildren.
And this right here, what they're neglecting or what they're rejecting, is the will of the people.
I think it shows that they are still nationalist Bahamians left in the country. And I use the word nationalist Bahamians.
Once he made it inside, McCartney stayed long enough to tender his resignation in the form of a single-page letter from the Free National Movement. The letter to his constituents read, "Due to personal convictions, today I have resigned from the Free National Movement. I remain your representative for the Bamboo Town constituency, and be assured that the level of true representation that you have become accustomed to will not change. I remain your humble employee." Even though the Bamboo Town MP tried to leave downtown quietly, his attempts wouldn't be so easy. He was grabbed, hugged, and cheered as he made his way.
He is the real man with the FNM.
Loretta Butler Turner, I voted for you in the last election. This time, I need Loretta to vote for me. In this matter before Parliament, vote no to BTC.
Bahamas is for Bahamians, and we believe in that, and that's why we're out here.
Police estimated the crowd to be at 500 at peak. From a security standpoint, there was one close call on Parliament Street. But before any thoughts of breaching security were completed, police officers stepped in.
There was a potential breach that we thought, but that was soon subdued, and the officers were able to take care of that situation.
Chief Superintendent Emmerich Seymour, who managed the emergency and riot response on Bay, talked about new measures put in place after the lessons of the last BTC demonstration on February 23rd.
The demonstrators, in fact, lifted the barricade, with a view of trying to get under. So the chains are there, in fact, to ensure that doesn't happen. And, and like I said, so far, it hasn't happened.
McCartney has promised to speak on Thursday when parliamentarians will carry out a final vote on the BTC sale. Shanique Miller, ZNS News.
Well, the Free National Movement says it's unfortunate that McCartney has resigned from the party. F&M Chairman Carl Bethel admits while it wasn't a surprise, McCartney obviously felt it was his only option.
It is regretted and we regret the decision that Mr. McCartney has taken. We wish him all the best for his future endeavors. But it certainly was not a shock. It was apparent to us for a long time that Mr. McCartney was moving along a particular tangent. We just regret that he has now reached the point where he felt he had to do what he did.
Now, when asked if the party made efforts to reach out to McCartney, Bethel said he did so personally.
I myself went and spent most of the morning. I moved from my seat and went and sat next to the member in order to, really just to enjoy the moment and to share conviviality that we as members of Parliament share with one another, in a personal and private way. But whatever the political implications or motivations were that have driven the Member of Parliament for Bamboo Town to the present action, well, that's for him to know. Certainly the Free National Movement did not seek to force him or to encourage him to take this step, but we're not surprised by it.
Well, as fast as the news was made public about McCartney's resignation, the Progressive Liberal Party was ready to respond, and they did so following the suspension of the morning session of the House of Assembly. Carla Palmer was in on that press conference.
Leader of the Progressive Liberal Party, the Right Honourable Perry Christie, is commending Bamboo Town Member of Parliament Granville McCartney on his resignation from the Free National Movement. Mr. Christie is calling the move by McCartney courageous and highly principled.
Having walked a similar path in a way at an earlier stage of my own political career, I know how difficult it is to separate oneself from a political party to which one has become and been long affiliated with. But I think it's fair to say that given the timing, the fact that he chose this day and this debate to do it, indicates the nature of the principled decision that he made. And it has everything to do with using himself and his decision to demonstrate how very important this debate is and how very important to the future of our country the conclusion of this debate, that is the transfer of 51% of the shares of BTC is to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. His decision today is a piercing arrow. When I looked at the faces of those persons on the other side, I didn't feel sorry for them.
Mr. Christie gave no indication whether or not the opposition has any intention of wooing McCartney over to the PLP and building its political arsenal.
We are a party that we characterize as a big tent. There's always an open invitation to persons who are interested in being with us to join us, particularly when it appears that this philosophical position they took is similar to the philosophical position that we are taking. Brian McCartney obviously has thought out his own position. He has not consulted me on that matter, and whatever he decides, whether we agree with it or not, I would wish to say on behalf of my colleagues that he can be assured of the respect and admiration of very many Bahamians for the step he took today.
Carla Palmer, ZNS News.
No decision yet in the BTC Union's Court of Appeal hearing, which got underway this morning. As Fern Carey reports, the justices spent the entire day listening to the union's grounds of appeal, but they also have to hear from other lawyers involved in the matter before making a decision.